Welcome to our press conference for this morning. Isang mabuting bagay ang magpasalamat sa Panginoon. Please all rise for the opening prayer to be led by Brigadier General Jason Ortizo, Director, Chaplain Service.
Let us bow our heads and be aware of God's loving presence. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-loving God, we ask you to empower us along with the PNP Corps and friends from the media, and may you grant all of us the grace of responsible journalism and fair news coverage. Bestow us your sacred protection, and let your divine providence influence our duties and responsibilities now and always. Bless our OIC SILG, our beloved CPNP, and our representative from the DOH, and all of us gathered here. We ask this in your most gracious name. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let us now hear the opening statement of the Chief of the Philippine National Police, Police General Debold M. Sinas.
Good morning, everybody. To our friends from the media, good morning. Before we start with the PNP portion, nandito po yung OIC ng DILG, si Josec June Flores, sir. Sila po unahin natin tanungin. Anything about sa vaccine program, anything ganito. Tapos yung po yung DOH representative, para po pag matapos na sila, ay i-excuse na natin sila. Then let's go to our regular press con. Kung okay lang sa inyo. Para kasi yung iba naman na tanong namin ay hindi naman concern nila, sir, at saka ni na ma'am. So, mas mabuti pang unahin na natin sila. Pagkatapos, pwede natin silang excuse kasi may mga ibang commitments pa rin sila at meron pa po silang pupuntahan. So, with that, pakinggan muna natin yung first statement po ni OIC DILG, si Josec Flores, sir. Kung meron kayo sasabihin, sir.
Thank you very much to our CPNP, Director Debold Sinas, General Debold Sinas, and our friends from the media. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. We have just witnessed the symbolic vaccination for the PNP. And I'd like to thank the DOH for giving us 800 vaccines. This is out of the 600,000 vaccines donated by the Chinese government. And I'd like to thank also the Chinese government for this donation. This is part of the 1.6 Sinovac vaccines that will be arriving this first quarter or this month of March. We are supposed to receive also the AstraZeneca, but we were informed that there will be a delay by 1 week. But for now, I'd like to thank that we were part of the distribution of the Sinovac vaccines. The CPNP has prioritized our health workers. And I'm happy to note that this 800 will be inoculated 200 per day. So that means 800 medical personnel will be inoculated by the Sinovac vaccines. I'm happy also to note that 75% is the survey conducted by the PNP that are willing to be vaccinated by this Sinovac. So we expect that after 4 days, 800 personnel from the PNP will be inoculated. Good morning to everyone.
Thank you very much, sir. Let us hear the opening statements of the DOH, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, General Sinas.
Ma'am, pakipindot na lang.
Yes, can I be heard?
Wala.
Wala.
Ito na lang.
So sa ngalan po, thank you General Sinas, sa ngalan po ng Department of Health led by Secretary Francisco T. Duque, we'd like to thank the Philippine National Police under the leadership of General Sinas for ensuring or for being part or one with us in ensuring that our healthcare workers are protected. We are prioritizing them for our vaccination program. And we hope, sir, under your leadership, more and more, or 100% po ng ating mga eligible population will agree to be vaccinated. So yun lang po, and congratulations to the PNP.
Thank you very much. Please let our media friends ask either si Yusek Florese or si Director ng DOH ng magtanong. Go ahead. Paki-facilitate kung sinong gusto may magtanong.
May I request Mr. Mar Gabriel from Net25, sir, to ask the first question?
Sir, good morning. Sir, pwedeng kay Chief. Sir, yung 800 na quota natin, napuno na ba natin or may mga nag-back out dahil sa Sinovac yung unang dumating?
Kanina yan?
Sa inyo, Chief.
Sa akin?
Yes, sir. Yung
Okay.
800 ba natin na quota para sa PNP, napuno na po ba natin or may mga nag-back out dahil sa Sinovac yung brand na unang dumating?
Okay. The best man to answer it is yung DCA natin, yung in charge po ng ASCOT natin.
Yes, thank you, sir. Well, for the 800, actually 804 yun. May kompleto tayong list noon coming from the health service. And accordingly, based on my discussion with the Director of Health Service, lahat doon wala nag-back out. Even though initial assessment, meron dong iba na hindi qualified. Kasi kaya tayo merong assessment eh. So not on their own choice, but for clinical reason. Pero madali man i-fill up yun dahil we have a lot of personnel coming from the health service, from the medical service na pwedeng magpuno dun sa kakulangan na yun. And even after that, kagaya nga na nasabi ni Chief, if not, kung hindi lang sinabi na medical workers ang priority, the CPNP and the command group as well as the directorial staff, kami mauuna dyan. Kaya lang hindi maganda na singitan natin yung mga medical workers. So, wala pong problema. The 804 na binigay na vaccine sa atin, sigurado magagamit natin lahat yon. At kulang pa yon para sa gusto magpabakuna sa hanay ng PNP. Maraming salamat.
Sir, follow-up lang. Sir, 75% na ng force natin yung na-survey na pumayag na magpabakuna. Sir, kung merong hindi magpapabakuna, sir, may katapat ba na admin case to? Kasi sa AFP, pwede silang makasuhan na, sir.
Meron?
Sa inyo po ba, sir? Kasi sa AFP, sir, required na sila magpabakuna. Pag umatras, may karampatang parusa. Sa inyo po ba, sir, pag may mga ayaw magpabakuna? Kasi sabi nyo, out of 200,000, sir, 75% pa lang yung pumayag sa survey.
Well, una-una, yung kasing survey natin is internal for us to get their sentiments so that appropriate intervention can be done by the PNP leadership. Di ba nabanggit ko nga sa inyo na initially, 49% yung ayaw. Pero dahil sa ating awareness program, bumaba siya hanggang ngayon, 25% na lang ang ayaw sa kanila. Well, of course, nire-respeto natin, may karapatan silang tumanggi, but it is also the obligation of the PNP leadership na bigyan ng proteksyon yung ating mga kapulisan. Kaya ang ginagawa natin, talagang may effort tayo for awareness at mainformahan sila. Gusto natin na kung magbabakuna sila is dahil naintindihan nila. At naniniwala na tayo with this kick-off ceremony, itong symbolic vaccination, and no less than the Director of Health Service at ang very willing ang PNP leadership, the Chief PNP, the Command Group, and Directorial Staff, others will follow. Hindi natin kailangan na magbigay pa ng sanction sa kanila, but maipaliwanag na lang natin sa kanila ang kahalagahan ng pagbabakuna and everything will follow. Kagaya ng sabi ko nga, on the 800 medical workers of the PNP, wala doon na tumanggi. Kung meron man, initially, na hindi pwedeng bakunahan, that is for clinical reason, but not for personal reason. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next is Ms. Leia Ilagan, ma'am, from UNTV.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, sa DOH po, ano po yung matatanggap naman na tulong ng Philippine National Police if ever na nagkaroon ng adverse effect o adverse events itong vaccination, ma'am?
Hello? Okay. Ang gobyerno po natin has committed not just to the PNP or to our uniformed personnel, but to all Filipinos who will be vaccinated if ever they develop any adverse events po, meron po tayong existing PhilHealth packages na pwedeng ma-avail, magkakaroon ng express lane, or we've been doing this, no? If by any chance that the expenses will be above the existing PhilHealth package, ang Department of Health po, meron tayong existing medical assistance to indigent patients program. Yung indigents, I hope people will not be offended, means yung iba kasi hindi naman sila indigent, pero ang definition po natin dun sa ating programa na iyon, each one of us, kahit gainfully employed, can be financially incapacitated at any point in our lives, lalo na pagka yung mga sakit ay catastrophic na tinatawag natin. Halimbawa, yung magka-cancer ka or what. So, in short po, pag sumobra sa PhilHealth, meron pang isang programa tayo na pwedeng tumustos dun sa gagastusin po sa kung magkasakit ka dahil sa bakuna. Thank you po.
Follow-up, sir. Ma'am, sa mga ospital, ipaprioritize yung may mga ganitong mararamdaman. Kumbaga, may mga rooms na ba na nakahanda sa bawat ospital para dun kaagad i-accommodate yung mga makakaranas ng adverse events?
Dagdagan ko lang po, bawat implementing unit meaning bawat vaccination site, hiningan po natin yan ng microplan. Yung microplan, nakasulat po doon. Kung sakaling merong magkasakit dahil sa bakuna, saan mo idadala yung pasyente? So meron po yun. We ask them to identify which hospital, ano pangalan ng tao, ng focal person in that hospital para klaro po. Thank you po.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Next is Miss Ann Soberano, Bombo Radio. Ma'am.
Sir, good morning. Yusek Flores, sir, good morning. Sir, may information po ba kayo bakit po na-delay yung delivery ng AstraZeneca na instead of today ay madidelay siya for 1 week? Ano po yung reason bakit po ma-delay yung pagdating ng bakuna ng AstraZeneca?
I don't know exactly the reason, but accordingly, there are just logistical or supply concerns from the manufacturer itself. But we expect that after a week or two. Thank you.
Sir, nagsimula na po ba yung rollout ng mga bakuna na galing China sa mga LGUs natin, sir? Nagsimula na po ba yung rollout? Lalo na po, saan-saan pong itong nationwide po ba na bibigyan na ng mga bakuna? Doon po sa 600,000 na mga vaccine na dumating kahapon.
Not yet. According to Chief Implementer Secretary Charlie Galvez, the 600,000 will be for the first priority in the list, and that is the health workers. Those who are directly involved in or are facing the COVID-19 patients. So, yung 600,000 ay dinistribute sa mga institutions, just like the PGH, the Lung Center, and other major hospitals. Wala pa yung sa LGUs because the LGUs have also procured their own vaccines. But since wala pa yon, they just have to wait. Although the other night, kausap natin yung mga mayors ng NCR, they are willing to be the first to be vaccinated. However, we still follow the priority given to us by the Chief Implementer as well as Secretary Duque of the IATF. So ayaw naman nilang agawin pa itong vaccines nito from our health workers. Just like the CPNP and the other officials of the PNP, they are willing to be vaccinated for the first rollout. However, ayaw din nilang agawan pa ang ating mga health workers dahil konti pa lang itong mga vaccines. Maybe for the second round, we will be able to roll out to everybody. Thank you.
Sir, lastly po, dito po ba sa bakunang AstraZeneca ay para sa mga LGUs na ito, sir? Yung pagdating ng AstraZeneca vaccine ay para sa mga LGUs o ito na ba yung binili ng ating mga LGUs, sir? Thank you.
As far as I know, the 525,000 vaccines from AstraZeneca is still part of the COVAX facility. So meaning this is still part of the donation from the WHO, the UNICEF, and the other agencies. So this is still part of donation to the Philippines.
Thank you, ma'am. Next is Mr. Raymond Dadpaas, DZRH.
Sir, thank you. Good morning, sir. Kay Yusek Flores, sir. Apart from the PNP, Yusek, sir, meron din ho bang allotment na naibigay sa Bureau of Fire and Bureau of Jail Management considering na meron din silang mga health frontliners?
Yes, they are part of the program of the rollout, but I have yet to get the data from the Bureau of Fire and the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology. But they are recipients also of these vaccines.
So, it may not be related to vaccine. Tanungin ko lang, sir, kasi dapat, di ba, yesterday, magtatapos yung medical leave ni Secretary Ed Año from DILG. Babalik na ba siya, sir, this March as far as what information you have, sir?
Yes, nakausap ko si Secretary Año last week, and according to him, after 10 days no nag-usap kami, he will be out of the hospital. But then he requested the President for an extended leave until the end of March. So, but nasa bahay na siya. I mean, lalabas na siya ng hospital and then sa bahay na siya magpapatuloy ng kanyang recovery. But it's okay. He's doing good. Actually, kami ang nagbabawal na magtrabaho muna siya, although he's very willing to be back to our office. But then, yun nga ang naging cause ng kanyang sakit. Masyado kasi siyang workaholic eh. Kaya nag-back down siya. Yun ang gusto namin mangyari for him to fully recover. But he's okay.
Okay, sir. Thanks. Ms. Patricia Mangunit, TV5, ma'am.
Hi, Sir. Yusek Florese. Siguro, could you kindly elaborate na lang, sir, bakit po 800 lang muna ngayon ang nakuha ng PNP? Compared po sa DND, they have 100,000 doses. Thank you, sir.
May commitment kasi yung Chinese government to donate to the DND, yung 100,000. But for the DND, 50,000 lang kinuha nila, the rest for the AFP. And then, according to the prioritization, by institution muna yung bibigyan itong unang batch of vaccines. Meaning, institutions like the hospitals, yung katulad ngayon, nagkakaroon din sila ng program. Itong ginawa natin ngayon sa PGH, sa Lung Center, and then meron sa Tala and other selected hospitals. So sabay-sabay itong pag-roll out ngayon. But then tuloy-tuloy naman to, and we hope to have the whole donation by the end of March.
Sir, follow-up lang. So, sir, gaano karami, sir, ang next batch ng vaccines na ina-expect natin for the PNP, i-delegate sa PNP?
Paghahati-hatian uli yan. But then, ang priority pa rin yung mga medical health workers natin. So, lahat ng hospitals na hindi pa inabot, i-distribute na yun. para mas malawak na yung coverage ng ating mga vaccines.
No exact number, sir. Gaano karami yung next na darating? Gaano karami? Do we have the exact number, sir?
Yung sa distribution, wala pa tayo, but we expect the balance of the 1.6 as far as Sinovac is concerned. So we are still expecting 1 million from the Sinovac.
Sige, sir. I mean, sir, for the PNP alone, meron na ba, sir?
Yeah, wala pa tayong figures.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Rod Vega, DCBB. Sir.
Yusek Flores, sir. Dito po ako. Magandang umaga po. Sir, dun po sa priority list, yung mga barangay health workers na under din po sa DILG, nasaan po sila? Maasahan ba nila by this month or next month, mabibigyan din sila ng buo na ng vaccine? Yung mga BHW?
Yes, we expect the balance of the Sinovac by this month, March. And we will be distributing them. Siguro paghati-hatiin uli, the same formula ang gagamitin. Kung kukulangin pa din, meron pa naman tayo. Magiging tuloy-tuloy naman na itong pagdala ng mga vaccines sa Pilipinas. And we will continue with our program.
Salamat po, Yusek. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. J. Mart Dagala, DWIZ.
Good morning po. Kay Yusek June. Sir, tanong ko lang po, aside dun sa Sinovac, I understand ang priority natin yung mga medical frontliners po. Sa part po ng DILG, may nakahanda na rin po ba tayo na yung mga employees, ng DILG, may mga nag-manifest na rin po ba sa kanila na willing mag-undergo ng vaccination po?
Yes, more or less ang personnel ng DILG is 5,000. But for the central office, we are 1,500. But we in fact requested Secretary Galvez na include na yung DILG kahit yung 1.5 lang muna ng personnel ng DILG from the central office, we being the counterpart of the DND. Hindi lang kasi kasama sa donation from the Sinovac, but we requested for it. And we also have our own health personnel. Baka yun na muna unahin.
So, meaning sir, possible na mapasama na ito sa darating na vaccines from COVAX facility, sir?
Yes, hopefully.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lloyd Kaliwan, Philippine News Agency. Sir.
Kay Yusek po. Sec, good morning. Lloyd po. Sir, tanong ko lang, since the LGU has budget for vaccine, nakausap niyo na rin mo ba yung mga every LGU na isama rin yung mga local PNP sa budget nila for vaccine?
No, yung sa LGU, that will only be for their constituents. Yung PNP, meron silang sariling distribution. So, our LGUs need not bother for our local police. Kasama na yun sa PNP organization. So, separate yung sa LGUs.
Thank you, Sec.
Thank you, sir. We have final two. Mr. Dolan Castro from ABS-CBN. Sir.
Hello. Good morning po. Doon po sa ating DOH, ma'am. Ma'am, siguro po ang tanong ko lang naman talaga yung tungkol sa Sinovac, ito pong corona vaccine ng Sinovac. Ano po ang dapat tandaan? Kasi siyempre, medyo yung tao natatakot po sa China, China-made na vaccine. Ngayon po, naturukan yung ating mga pulis, ano po yung dapat nilang tandang sintomas na mararamdaman nila within this week or a month na dapat huwag nilang ikatakot? Para naman hindi matakot yung mga pulis natin na kung may naramdaman silang bago sa katawan nila. Ano po yung sinabi sa inyo ng Sinovac na mararamdaman ng mga pulis?
Thank you, sir. Yung bakuna po talaga, meron tayong tinatawag na mga expected na effects pagkatapos kang mabakunahan. Kasi may ini-introduce ka talaga na foreign body eh. So kahit sabihin mong pinahinang virus lang yan, dahil sa ang immune system natin, kung very healthy tayo, lalo na, magre-react talaga. So yung reaction natin na yon will produce an effect na pwede kang maglagnat, pwede kang magkaroon ng tenderness dun sa actual area where you were vaccinated, pwede mamula itong yung area kung saan ka binakunahan. Yun po, you can expect that. Actually, sinasabi nila, for the first 24 hours, you can, lalo na sa ibang, I will not mention the vaccine itself, pero parang magkakasakit ka talaga na within the 24 hours, but it subsides right away. So, kailan ka magpapatingin kung itong mga naramdaman mo na ito ay hindi nag-subside after, say, 24 hours, or you develop other signs and symptoms like nahirapan kang huminga, nagkaka-chest pain ka, ano pa ba, difficulty of breathing, chest pain, and other signs and symptoms. Basta yung expected, fever, redness, tenderness, headache, pwede rin yun. But other than that, and then if the duration is beyond 1 day or 24 hours, then you should seek already, go to the nearest health facility para po maimbestigahan kung kailangan. Kung imbestigahan, I want to emphasize, it has to be investigated because not everything that happens after a vaccination can be attributed to the vaccine. So yun po, but the bottom line, the message is, go to the nearest health facility. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Alfred Dallison, People's Journal. Sir.
Good morning, sir. Kay Yusek Flores, sir. Sir, as we speak, kumusta na po yung transport ng 600,000 na vaccines na dumating kahapon? Nakarating ba sila sa mga destinations nila without any hitches? Can you give us some explanation, sir?
Yes, yung vaccines natin, VIP sila. With the proper escort from the PNP, with the proper escort from the Bureau of Fire, and matiwasay naman yung pagdating doon sa destination nila, sa ating mga storage facilities. Maayos naman.
Puro Metro Manila lang, sir?
Yes, Metro Manila lang.
Thank you, sir. Next is Mr. Nick Echevarria, DWDD, sir.
Sir, good morning, Yusek. Sir, before kasi sa PNP, ang ulat nila is mababa yung percentage ng mga gustong magpabakuna, pero dahil dun sa ginawa nila na massive information campaign, so tumaas yung yung percentage. Ang tatanong ko lang, sir, Yusek, kumusta ho ang acceptance ng mga communities sa local government units tungkol po dito sa pagbabakuna since na sinimulan na po natin yung rollout and then padating na rin yung mga iba pang bakuna?
In general, nung una kasi nasa 30% pa lang yung acceptability. But then yung 30% na to, meron ding 20% na hindi nila alam. Maybe yung sagot nila. So, kailangan lang ng dialogue, kailangan lang ng explanation. So, that 20%, if you add that 20% to the 30%, so more or less 50% yung acceptability. Katulad ng ginawa ng PNP, they had their dialogues, and after the dialogue, biglang tumaas yung acceptance nung kanilang personnel. It's just a matter of explanation, no? It's just a matter of dialogue, giving to them the proper data, giving them the assurance na ito dumaan sa experts. We just have to trust our experts. We just have to trust science. Lahat naman to dumaan sa masusing pagsusuri, especially by the FDA. So, apektado kasi nung nung mga fake news. Let us remember, may competition din dito. This is business. May competition din to among the manufacturers. And then meron pa rin kasi yung scare from Dengvaxia. And we cannot blame them for this. Although, as far as Dengvaxia is concerned, wala naman dapat ikatakot. Kasi napaliwanag naman ito ng DOH. Of course, si Director si Jackal can elaborate on this. Pero ito yung mga factors kung bakit mababa yung acceptance.
Sir, follow up ko lang. Any directive from DILG na doon sa mga local government units na magsagawa ng massive information like what the PNP did?
Yes, we have given them the directive. We have issued our memorandum circular for them to have a massive information campaign and then advocacy so that their constituents will be informed properly. Kausap din natin dito yung ULAP, the League of Governors, the League of City Mayors, and Municipal Mayors. Sila na mismo, through them, pinapakiusap natin na sila na mismo ang mag-disseminate ng true facts about vaccines. So maganda na yung nagiging resulta ng as far as the LGUs are concerned.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Finally, Ms. Bea Bernardo from PTB4. Ma'am?
Hi po, good morning. Kay Yusek Florence pa rin po. May sarili po bang initiative ang DILG na makipag-usap sa ibang vaccine manufacturers para mag-commit din sila ng higher doses po ng bakuna sa DILG po?
We leave that to the vaccine czar, si Secretary Galvez, and of course to the DOH. Ayaw nating makaano pa.
But thank you so much po.
So that concludes this part of the conference with the media. Sir, CPNP po. We shall now proceed to the press conference proper. We would like to have a few more statements from the CPNP prior to the presentations of all the units concerned. Sir?
Thank you very much. Now let's proceed to our press conference. We'll follow the presentations. And Brandy, go ahead.
The sequence of presentations is as follows, as indicated there. First would be the crime stats weekly, this is to be delivered by DIDM. And of course, under the crime statistics, there will be two more presenters. One from Pro 5, insofar as their accomplishments are concerned with regard to the simultaneous anti-criminality law enforcement operation. This will be done virtually by the Regional Director of Pro 5. Next would be the update on the killing of Korean national in Valenzuela City Police. Of course, the Chief of Police of Valenzuela will also be with us to present this update. Of course, to be followed by the donations coming from the different donors to the Philippine National Police. This will be presented by the Director for Logistics, Police Major General Angelito Casimiro, followed by ABP, the infographics insofar as the announcement on the examination of the Philippine National Police Academy Cadet Admission Test. And then finally, the updates on COVID-19 cases with regard to the preparation for the vaccination of PNP personnel. So let's proceed. We shall have first the crime statistics to be presented by Police Major General Divina of the DIDM. Palakpakan po natin siya. Major General Marley Marcos, I'm sorry.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Major General Marcos, the Director of the IDM. To our very dynamic Chief PNP, Police General Debold M. Sinas, sir, to the members of the command group, members of the directorial staff present, directors of national support units, friends from the media, other officers, ladies and gentlemen, other guests, a pleasant morning to everyone. I will be showing to you the crime environment for February 2021 as compared to the previous month of January 2021. For the two-month comparative period from January 2021 versus February 2021, it can be observed that the index crimes decreased by 381 incidents or 12.99%, while non-index crimes decreased by 1,368 incidents or 8.05%. The decrease on index crimes is attributed to the decrease of all 8 focus crimes, whereas the decrease in non-index crimes were due to the continuous decrease in violation of special laws, especially mandatory reporting of notifiable diseases and health events of Public Health Concern Act number 11332. The Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children's Act of 2004, or the Republic Acts 9262, and the Anti-Illegal Gambling Law, PD 1602, and the Anti-Child Abuse Law, or the Republic Act 7610. Both crime clearance and crime solution efficiencies for February 2021 as against the previous month went down by 0.13%, and 0.09% respectively. This is understandable because crimes for the month had just happened compared to the length of time that had lapsed since January. Rest assured that our PNP remains steadfast in making all of its efforts in solving all crimes. And now, for the crime environment for the week February 19 to 25 compared to the recent week, February 12 to 18, 2021. For the 2-week comparative period, from February 12 to 18, 2021 versus February 19 to 25, or the recent week, it can be observed that index crimes decreased by 96 incidents, or 16.27%, while non-index crimes decreased by 402 incidents, or 10.48%. The decrease on index crimes is attributed to the decrease of all 8 focus crimes, except for carnapping of motor vehicles, whereas the decrease of non-index crimes were due to continuous decrease in violation of special laws, especially mandatory reporting of the Republic Act 11332, Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act, and the Anti-Child Abuse Law. On the screen is the summary alongside its graphical representation of 8 focus crimes for February 12 to 18, 2021 versus February 19 to 25, 2021, in which majority of the 8 focus crimes went down except for carnapping of motor vehicles. Both crime clearance and crime solution efficiencies for February 19 to 25 as against the previous week is reduced by 0.29% and 0.18% respectively. The very slight percentage decrease in both crime clearance and crime solution efficiency is far better than the percentage decrease of crime clearance efficiency and crime solution efficiency as shown last week. For the information of everybody, last week's CCE decreased by 8.85%, whereas the last week's CSE decreased by 6.18%. This also proves that the continuing effort of the police, and please be assured that your PNP remains steadfast in solving all crimes. On the assessment of crime environment, the overall decrease in all 8 focus crimes are caused by the following factors: the proactive pursuits enforced by the PNP through its various initiatives and preemptive interventions, which serves as an effective measure for majority of the focus crimes. The use of intensified checkpoints, patrols, and other police interferences during the community quarantine by the police force, amplified by active support of other law enforcement agencies and force multipliers, continuously reduced the number of 8 focus crimes incidents. Enhanced managing police operation is still actively in place. Further, still as an effect of the pandemic, the restriction of physical contacts and interaction of people continuously affects the downward trend of crime incidents. Based on the data generated from Sinas, there is an increase in homicide as against the previous week. Only NCR has shown an increase in carnapping incidents. 1 in Marikina, 1 in San Juan, and 1 in Quezon City. These vehicles were failed to return to the owner, taken without consent along the streets, and forcibly taken in front of a bank in Quezon City. The decrease in crime clearance and crime solution efficiencies was caused by the increase in both index and non-index crime incidents that are currently under investigation. Majority of the index crimes are under investigation are murder, robbery, and physical injuries. Most of the non-index crime incidents under investigation are violations of special laws. All of this will improve as the week advances with the up-to-the-minute improvements on the investigation of these incidents with the eventual filing of cases before the prosecutor's office. That ends my presentation, and magandang umaga sa inyong lahat.
Thank you very much, Manny. Let us acknowledge the presence, of course, of the Regional Director of NCRPO, Major General Vic Danao Jr., and the 5 District Director present here, the District Director of QCPD, MPD, Eastern Police District, Northern Police District, and the Southern Police District. Nandito rin sila. Kasama rin natin dito yung yung director ng DPCR at saka yung director ng logistics po. Nandito rin yung director ng SAF at nandito rin yung director ng PNPA who will announce the incoming entrance examination on the PNPA on March 6 and 7. March 7, this coming Sunday. They will give up. Nandito rin yung director ng Crime Lab at saka director ng anti-cybercrime and ang legal officer po natin. So, with that, let's continue with our presentation. Let's go to the presentation of
Pro 5, sir. We shall now listen to the presentation of Pro 5, represented no less by the Regional Director, Police Brigadier General Bartolome Bustamante.
Good morning, sir. Our CPNP, sir, the members of the command group, our directorial staff, our friends from the media, other officers, Maray Nagas and Dugabos. Sir, I'll be presenting to you the accomplishments of PRO 5 in its simultaneous anti-criminality law enforcement operations, or SACLAYO, on Republic Act 10591, otherwise known as the Comprehensive Law on Firearms and Ammunition, in coordination with CIDG, the intelligence group, and the Armed Forces of the Philippines units in the area. The SACLAYO was implemented beginning of 12 midnight of February 25, 2021 to midnight of February 27, all in all provinces and offices in the Bicol region. A total of 94 search warrants were served for violations of Republic Act 10951. There were 8 checkpoints that yielded positive results, 6 of which are from Masbate, 1 each from Camarines Sur and Sorsogon. Camarines Sur and Sorsogon both posted 1 case each, resulting in the service of warrant of arrest. Of the 13 search warrants served for violations of 9165, 7 are from Albay, 2 from Camarines Norte, 3 from Camarines Sur, and 1 from Naga City. There were also 4 cases which yielded results from the operations. The table shows the corresponding results from each of the 6 provinces and Naga City. The recovered or confiscated items include 137 assorted firearms, 14 hand grenades, 1 grenade launcher, and 2 rifle grenades. For the number of persons arrested in relation to our Sacleo operations, 3 were identified as either a member or a supporter of the communist terrorist group. 14 are with the pending warrants of arrest, of whom 1 is the most wanted person, 13 other most wanted persons. Likewise, there are 18 known drug personalities and a total of 10 persons who died in these police operations. 3 are barangay officials and 63 are other personalities, bringing the total of 111. One of the 10 persons who died in the police operations, 6 are identified with the CTG as members or supporters, 1 from the crime group, and 3 other personalities. So far, sir, that's the result for our operation, sir, for the Bicol region. Just mapalo, sir.
Thank you, sir. Last week, we had a press release on the killing of a Korean national. Today, we have here the Chief of Police of Valenzuela City Police to provide us an update of what the investigation has already gone through. And we actually are talking about the solution of this particular case. Let us now listen from the Chief of Police of Valenzuela, Police Colonel Fernando Ortega.
Thank you, sir. To our Chief PNP, Police General Debold M. Sinas, sir, the other members of the command group, other senior officers, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant day to all of us. I am Police Colonel Fernando Reyes Ortega of the Chief of Police of Valenzuela City. I'm going to present the SITG Namsunuk regarding a shooting that transpired in our AOR in Valenzuela City. Next slide. Shown is the sequence of my presentation. Next slide. For the background of the case, the shooting incident was discovered at around 7 a.m. February 15, 2021 at a vacant lot in front of St. Angelus Cemetery located at Barangay Maysan, Valenzuela City. The reportee was about to park his vehicle when he saw that the victim car was blocking his parkway. So he peeped on the window and discovered the lifeless body of the victim. Next slide, please. The profile of the victim. The victim was identified as Nam Sunuk, a Korean national, and lives in Queensland Hotel, Pasay City. Next slide. That's the photograph of the scene. Next slide. Shown are the recovered piece of evidence. The 2 pieces caliber 45 fired cartridge and 2 pieces fired bullet. And also the Korean passport, watch, and wallet containing the credit cards, Korean ID, and money of the victim. Next slide. And after processing of the crime scene, the following were immediately conducted. The medico-legal autopsy, the firearms identification examination, the IBs, and fingerprint examination, and the chemistry examination. Next slide. And for the investigation proper, next slide. With the approval of our DD and PD, the SITG was immediately created with the CIDG and PD. And we also invited our Korean police desk in CIDG to help us in the investigation. As you can see in the picture, that's Lieutenant Colonel Kim and Major Chang of the Korean police. Next slide. The tracker team managed to obtain CCTV footages from the Valenzuela City Alert Center. Shown on the screen is the victim's car, which is a Hyundai Tucson bearing plate number TQW 722 and being tailed by the suspect's vehicle, a red Honda Civic with plate number TGX 292 at about 1:20 a.m. of February 14 along northbound of MacArthur Highway entering entering Valenzuela coming from Malabon, Caloocan area. Next slide. The victim vehicle is registered to Gina Lee with the address. Gina Lee is the wife of the victim and also stayed here in the Philippines but left the country last 2019 and never returned. While the suspect vehicle is registered to Rogelio G. Flores. That's the address. Next slide. We also able to track the movement of the red Honda Civic, and it was seen after the crime traversing the inner road going to Tondo, Manila using the MacArthur Highway again at about 1:49 a.m. of the same date. Next slide. We conducted verification on the both vehicles' owner's address. Next slide. And on our second case conference, we were able to have a breakthrough when the identity of Kimberly Radores was revealed. Through Mr. Namsan, the Korean police were able to give the information regarding the identity of Kimberly and even gave his personal contact number. We contacted her and met her in Pampanga. Next slide. On the first interview, she gave information that might be that the motive of the killing she revealed was the name of Noreen Jakiri, a former girlfriend of Mr. Nam. She mentioned about the sex scandal of Noreen that was posted by the victim last January that caused their quarrel and maybe the killing. But after validating that said information, we were very suspicious about the information of the rebellee or Kimberly. That's why we again invited her on February 20, where she divulged the information about what she really knew about the death of Mr. Nam, which prompted our operatives to hold her. Next slide, please. When we hold her, she gave some revelations that gave pave way to the arrest of other suspects. And according to her revelation, next slide, she and a certain Rica were asked by Mr. Nam to participate in his plan to kill himself. Because according to them, Mr. Nam, the Korean national, has been suffering from pain, for illness, for a long time, and he cannot bear anymore the pain. That's why he planned to kill himself. After refusing to do that tasking or the request of Mr. Nam, they were asked again by Mr. Nam to find a man or that can do the job. And if they succeed, they will be given 2.2 million won or 100,000 pesos in our monetary value through his wife, Miss Gina Lee, the wife of Mr. Nam. And also, on the last conversation of Mr. Nam and Kimberly, Mr. Nam made a message, and after 3 days, he told Kimberly that he emailed his message to his wife, and after a month, she will be given a 100,000 pesos as payment on their participation on the crime. The email was translated into English, and that was the message that if the killing will be done, Mr. Nam is asking his wife that do not pursue the investigation to the police and instead give Kimberly a 100,000 pesos in return after 1 month. Next slide, please. After the revelation of Kimberly, then we arrest Rica. And fortunately, all the revelations of Kimberly went good. That paved way to the arrest of other persons involved in this crime. Next slide, please. They have the same revelations, Kimberly and Rika. And Rika was the one who contacted a contact person for a gunman, and that is Shiana. Next slide, please. This is the link diagram of the suspects. Shown on the top is the victim, Mr. Nam Sunuk, then Rika Estrella and Kimberly. Kimberly is the employee of Mr. Nam. Ito po yung dalawang inas niya of the favor that to kill himself. Then, they contacted Liana Naganyo alias Yana. And this Liana has a girlfriend na tomboy. Ito po yung kinontak naman niya na may kababata na si Rusty Teteng na may contact po kay Brian Gulpo na alam niya na mayroon pong bad record and topic doon sa Tondo, Manila. And then ito pong si Brian Gulpo contacted Brian Escamillas and Corporal Darwin Castillo to do the job upon the promise of 80,000 pesos if the plan pursue. Then, nakalagay din po dyan yung kanilang partihan kung paano po nila dinivide yung kanilang 80,000. 35 each doon sa dalawang Brian and 10,000 only for Corporal Darwin Castillo. Ito pong si Darwin Castillo na pulis natin is lulong po sa billiard. That's why naging barkada po niya itong si Brian Escamillas doon sa bilyaran po sa Blumentritt and nangangailangan po ng pera noon, nangungutang, kaya po nayakag dito sa krimen na to. But that's their allegation. Next slide, please. Ito na po yung arrest proper. Na sunod-sunod po, within 18 hours, na-arresto po natin yung 8 suspects. First po is si Yana and Josephine at about 5:30 a.m. of February 21. Next slide. Then, tinuro po niya si alias Rusty o alias Teteng. Na-arresto po natin sa Santa Cruz, Manila. Next slide. Brian Gulpo, Inorsagaray, Bulacan. Next slide. Then Brian Escamillas, 1 p.m. in Sampaloc, Manila. Next slide. And Corporal Darwin Castillo, naka-duty pa po sa Quirino, sa Ross Boulevard, nung ating pong inaresto. Next slide. Then meron din pong extrajudicial confession si Brian Castillo, si Corporal Brian Castillo, and he revealed that he was contacted by Brian Escamillas. Next slide, please. To produce a car and was asked to accompany the group in the commission of the crime. And he will be given 10,000 pesos for his participation. Next slide, please. On his revelation also, in his extrajudicial confession, on February 13, 2021, at around 10 in the evening, he was with Brian Escamillas. So, nakakuha po sila ng Honda Civic Color Red, bearing plate number TGX292. Nag-match po ito dun sa ating suspected vehicle nung sa background. Towards Santa Cruz area, and fetched gunman Brian Escamillas and Brian Gulpo. They met with the victim on the agreed place in Santa Cruz, Manila, after which Brian Gulpo and Brian Escamillas transferred to the Hyundai Tucson of the victim and proceeded to northbound of Manila, going to Valenzuela City, followed by Corporal Castillo on board a Honda Civic Color Red with plate number TGX292. Kaya nagmatch po yung nakuha natin sa CCTV na magka-convoy po sila going to Valenzuela City. That upon reaching Maysan, Valenzuela, the victim transferred to the back passenger seat, wherein Brian Gulpo and Brian Escamillas shot the victim inside the car and left the victim inside his vehicle. Thereafter, the two nag-transfer po doon sa red vehicle po na ginamit nilang getaway vehicle, and yung in-explain ko po kanina na nabidyohan, going naman po ng Malabon area. Next slide, please. Ito po, sir, yung aming mga na-recovered na evidence, yung pong ginamit na sasakyan. surrendered by Sergeant Legaspi because ito po ay hiniram lang po ni Corporal Castillo doon po sa kasamahan niya kay Sergeant Legaspi. And he was paid 1,000 pesos. Next slide, please. And ito naman po ay sinurrender ni Sergeant Enoch na ang allegation po ni Corporal Castillo is ibinenta niya kay Sergeant Enoch, but on the testimony of Sergeant Enoch, ito po ay pinatago sa kanya. But nonetheless, it was surrendered voluntarily nung nalaman po niya about the incident. Next slide, please. And based on the ballistic examination, labas na po yung resulta. It matched doon po sa ginamit na barel at saka po yung mga na-examine na fired cartridge and fired bullet. Next slide, please. Shown on the screen are the arrested suspects. Ito po sila, 8. Next slide. For the motive na na-establish natin, based on the revelation and the accounts of the suspects, personal gain and monetary consideration for the suspects, while the victim, ito po yung beneficiaries, benefits, and insurance. We learned that from the revelation of Kimberly that Mr. Nam has a 14 insurance po doon sa Korea. Next slide. Shown po yung picture, we conducted caucus and review of the case folder before filing po ng criminal complaint. Next slide. A criminal complaint of murder was filed against the 8 arrested suspects through e-inquest. Next slide, please. And also, meron na po tayong copy ng resolution and filing of information to the court by the prosecutor with no bail recommended po ang nirecommend po ng ating piskal. Next slide, please. And since foreign national po yung ating wife ng victim, we requested po dun sa True Korean Embassy we requested na tayo po ang mag-pursue nung ating because if they cannot go here for the prosecution, and ito po, inalaw po tayo ng wife ng victim to be a nominal complainant for the case ng murder with doon po sa 8 suspects. Next slide, please. And then, ito po yung aming pending request to continue the conduct of investigation regarding doon sa illness ni Mr. Nam. We requested St. Luke's of the medical records because according to Kimberly, doon po nagpapa-check up at nagpapaano po si Mr. Nam, yung victim. But hindi po tayo binigyan ng St. Luke's. So nag-letter po ako sa wife ni Mr. Nam through the Korean Embassy authorizing us to get the copy or the medical record of Mr. Nam. Wala pa pong reply ito, sir. Next slide, please. And also requested for digital forensic examination for the tablet, yung pong pinaggamitan ng email from Mr. Nam to Kimberly and Kimberly to the wife of the victim in Korea. Next slide, please. Next slide. That ends my presentation. And one more slide, please. Upon further verification, we found out that this one of the suspect, or Brian Escamillas, the gunman, is a pending warrant of arrest for the case of frustrated murder in Manila. Thank you very much. That's all for my briefing and update for the Korean killing in Valenzuela City. Thank you, sir.
Next presenter is the Director for Logistics, Police Major General Angelito Casimiro on PNP donations. Sir.
To our CPNP, to the command group, to the regional director of NCR, different directorial staff, to the media, magandang tanghali po sa inyo lahat. May we go directly to B, donations. Next slide, please.
for the week February 19 to 25, 2020, the following regions received donations from the LGU of Region 7, from Region 1, 11, Cordillera. The National Capital Region also received donations from Tao Gama. Next slide, please. Likewise, for the following week, the following NGOs also donated donation of in-kind to 11, Procor, Pro 7, 1, 11, and Cordillera. Next slide. Also, the LGU of Abugay donated to Pro 3. Likewise, Davao City Mayor's Office, LGO San Isidro to Region 11. And the Health Service received donation from BARM. A total of 870,994 pesos was donated to the Philippine National Police from February 19 to February 25, sir. Next slide. So this is the summary of donated items. For Pro 1, we received about 17,000. Pro 3, 2,000. Pro 7, 141,000. PRO 11, 852,000. PRO Cordillera, 37,000. And National Capital Region, about 10,000, a total of 861,000. While the Health Service was given an amount of 9,000. So for this week, we received about 870,994. That's all for DL, sir.
Thank you, sir. Next is the Director of the Philippine National Police Academy as regards the announcement on the PNPA CAT. May we read from Police Major General Roderick Armamento.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Once again, good morning to everyone. In behalf of our CPNP, Police General Debold Minoria Sinas, the members of the Cadet Admission Committee of the Philippine National Police would like to announce the conduct of modified PNPA admission test, or the so-called PNPA CAT, pencil and paper test format on March 7 and 8. It will be on Sunday and Monday in all 34 testing centers nationwide. Passing the PNPA CAT is the first among a series of requirements from an applicant to qualify for a 4 years cadetship education and training program in the country's premier service institutions. So to know more about this, we'll be playing to you an audiovisual presentations. And then afterwards, our members of the Cadet Admission Committee plus our second-class cadets here will be ready to answer to some of your queries or questions. Maraming salamat po.
Good day, cadet aspirants. Congratulations on completing the application process for the upcoming modified PNPA Cadet Admission Test 2021. Now, it is time for you to prepare. To help you, we are giving tips that you should remember to successfully pass the PNPA CAT.
The night before the exam, be sure that all the following requirements are already prepared and are ready to be presented to the proctor. Notice of examination, ballpoint pen, pencil number 2, valid ID card, or valid police or NBI clearance, 3 pieces of passport-size ID picture with white background and name tag, and medical certificate. Since we are in a COVID-19 pandemic, the following forms are included to be accomplished and shall be presented together with the NOE: Informed Consent Sheet, and Health Declaration Form. These forms are downloadable at the PNPA website. Bear in mind that the exam will focus on these subjects, namely communication skills, logical reasoning ability, mathematics, science, values, general information, and current events. Last but not the least, do not neglect to have a good night's sleep so you can wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take the exam.
At the day of the admission test, it is best to wake up early so you can have ample time to prepare and check your requirements. Do not attempt to bring food as these are not allowed. Do not forget about the dress code. Male applicants may wear a shirt of any color or maong pants or slacks. Female applicants may wear skirts or dress but not too skimpy. Strictly no sandal, no shorts, no slippers, flip-flops or sandals. Do not skip your breakfast as it is essential in keeping the mind and body working. The PNPA cannot guarantee your absolute safety from the virus, but in its desire to safeguard all examinees, it shall strictly implement health safety protocols set forth by the IATF Omnibus Guidelines and other concerned agencies to reduce all potential risks of transmission of COVID-19. All examinees must wear a medical-grade face mask and face shield. Bringing of rubbing alcohol with 70% solution is highly recommended. At the testing center, all examinees must pass through the foot bath while observing physical distancing of at least 1 meter apart at all times. They too shall undergo temperature scanning. Only examinees with a temperature of less than or equal to 37.5 degrees Celsius shall be allowed to enter. Room assignment and seat number will be published before the examination date, so be sure to check it before going to your testing center.
While inside the room, remember to sign the applicant's attendance sheet, after which proceed directly to your assigned seat. Observe silence and wait for instructions. The PNPA CAT shall be held in 2 sessions per exam date, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and it shall last for 3 hours. The number of examinees per room will be limited to 15 only to allow proper physical distancing and avoid crowding. Do not commit the following errors when shading, otherwise the machine may not recognize your answers. You need to properly shade the circle corresponding to your answer.
15 days after the examination, all examinees are required to submit a post-exam health status. To update the examination personnel, the form can be downloaded from the PNP website and shall be sent through the official email address of the Regional Office of the Health Service where you took your examination. Please provide the information as accurately as possible. As for the PNPA CAT 2021 result, wait for the posting at the PNPA website and official PNPA Facebook page. A message will be sent to your email address to inform you that you have passed the PNPA CAT and now eligible to continue with the second phase of the screening process.
Among the thousands of young Filipino cadet aspirants across the country, do you have what it takes to be part of the long maroon line?
Ilabas ang galing, talino at tapang. Ipakita ang kakayanan. Tayo na sa PNPA at maging huwarang leader ng ating bayan.
Thank you, sir, for that very enlightening information about the PNPA cadet admission test. Finally, may I request the Deputy Chief PNP for Administration, Police Lieutenant General Galor Eliasar, as regards the PNP COVID-19 cases and the vaccination plan caduceus. Sir?
Thank you, sir. With your permission. Magandang umaga po sa atin lahat. So I'll be presenting the COVID updates, and then later part will be our vaccination flow process using the CODA. So next slide please. So ang cut-off natin dun sa ating monitoring using our COVID data database is 12 midnight na. So as of last night, we have accounted for a total of 11,343 cases. So the new cases reported yesterday were 12 cases with 35 recoveries. So the active cases as of last night is 490. Yung pong death natin is pareho pa rin. Next slide. So aside from that number, we are also monitoring 469 other cases, 87 possible, 19 suspect, and 363. Next slide. For the breakdown of these new cases, active cases, confirmed cases, and death are as shown in this screen. I will no longer disaggregate this category by units para mas mabilis tayo ngayon para dun sa ating ibang aspeto ng ating press con, which is vaccination. But just the same, hinati na rin po natin yung ating NSU for proper presentation. National Administrative Support Unit and the National Operation Support Unit. At yung new cases natin na 12 cases, 4 sa NOSU and 8 sa PRO. Next slide. So the 490 active cases are on this disposition, 14 are in hospital, and 476 are in PNP quarantine facilities. Next slide. Ito yung ating summary. Out of these 11,343 cases, 10,822 or 95.4 have recovered already, with remaining 490 or 4.3% active cases. Ang death natin is 31.3%. Next slide. Comparing this with the national scenario, itong latest po kahapon na na-monitor natin sa news nationwide, out of the cases that we have nationwide. So, while 92.7% have recovered, sa PNP, 95.4%. Mas mataas po tayo. Sa active case naman, mas kokonti, at compared with death, 0.3 tayo compared sa 2.1 on the national status. Next slide. Out of the 219,020, ito yung minomonitor natin sa CODA, hindi po kasama pa dito yung PNP cadet sa 1,000 plus, pero ipapasok na rin natin siya being part of the PNPA. Sa ngayon kasi, yung organic members lang ang minomonitor natin, pero yung mga kadete, ipapasok na rin natin sila. At kagaya sinabi nga natin po sa inyo, yung CODA natin, dala-dali na yung record na yan, kahit kayo lumipat, kahit saan. Pag-graduate nila, pag-join sa PNP, kasama pa rin lahat ng record sa RT-PCR and eventually, itong ating vaccination. So while the NHQ comprised just 1.6% of our strength, pero makikita natin na 435 or 12.8% na ay nag-positive sa NHQ. For NASO, which is 3.1% ang strength natin, 9.9% yung positive sa kanila. For NOSO, 12.7% ang strength, 7.6%. At yung PRO, pinakamalaki ang strength natin dyan, almost 83%, 4.5%. On the average, yung strength natin doon na nag-positive. Overall, sa buong strength natin na minomonitor natin, 5.2% or 11,343 ang nag-positive na. Yung iba, reinfected pa. Next slide. So, ito po, for better appreciation, ito yung graphical representation ng ating mga confirmed cases over strength. Next slide. We are always monitoring the PCR test. And sa ngayon, kalahati na po yung natetest natin officially with the supporting documents. And makikita natin na by category, mataas po yung sa NHQ natin, 95.5%, dahil nga itong NHQ basically nasa krami at Metro Manila pa rin yung ating pandemic. Sa NASO, 84.6% ng personnel nila ay tested na, sa NOSO naman 63.3%, at sa PRO, 45.6% ang number of persons personnel tested. Next slide. We are focusing, ito yung graphical representation for your appreciation. Now, ang focus kasi natin is Metro Manila. Next slide. So, we'd like to show you itong mga nakabase sa Metro Manila. Inside Camp Crame, ito yung mga nasa NHQ and other NSUs na dito sa yun. So, yung strength na 10,729, 96.7 ang tested sa kanila. Outside Camp Crame, pero within Metro Manila, ito yung ibang units na particularly mga NSUs natin which are that are assigned here or ito mga ang kanilang regional offices is in Metro Manila, 92.7. And for the organic regular NCRPO, ayan, 84 na lang so far, yung hindi pa natetest. At tingin ko, sa mga susunod na araw, talaga ma-reach 100%. Even though may movement ang ating personnel, posibleng ano. Pero ito yung gusto natin ma-attain. On the average, 97.8%. Next slide. So ito yung graphical representation. And some of the personnel here ay hindi lang isang beses tinetest. The desire of our Chief PNP is kung kakayanin, at least once a month, matest yung mga naandito dahil naandito pa rin talaga ang ating sentro ng infection. Next slide. So, all in all, for recap, kalahati na. Halos itong natetest natin. Next slide. While 109,000 personnel were tested, the total test conducted nationwide is 155,000. Kagaya sinabi ko nga, may iba dyan na nauulit, lalo na yung nakabase sa Metro Manila. Next slide. So, para mas makita natin, itong the average of positivity rate actually, which is number of those who have been positive out of the test conducted, ay 7.3%. Pero tingnan po natin dito yan na for better appreciation on weekly basis since we started monitoring March last year until itong February, nakita natin ito yung, well actually itong green ito yung test being conducted. As noted, bandang November o butang December, ito na yung ang effort ng ating PNP na magkaroon tayo ng aggressive testing kaya talagang tumaas siya doon. Next slide. So makita natin dito, ito naman ngayon yung result na nag-positive. So on every line, vertical line, so yun yung katapat na nag-result ng positive. At makikita natin, tumataas, baba, pero halos pantay din siya. For better appreciation, i-check natin ngayon itong positivity rate. Meaning, the numerator is the positive result, denominator is the number of tests conducted. Next slide. So ito yung linya, ito yung positivity rate natin. So, ang percentage is dito sa kanan na y-axis natin. So, ang pinakamataas is 50%. Kino-correct po natin yung last time na sabi ko, merong yung una 100% kasi isa lang yung tinest, positive pa. So, merong ibang late reporting doon at inayos, hindi naman pala. Kumbaga 50%. Meaning, dalawa yung tinest, isa yung nag-positive. Kaya yung positivity rate during that time is 50%. But, as we conducted more tests, eto ngayon, nakikita natin na gumaganda naman yung positivity rate natin. Next slide. This is the highest test that we have conducted, 12,820. That is the third week of January with 422 positive with 3.29 positivity rate. Let's focus on the positive rate para mas malaki. Next slide. Ayan, mas makita po natin. Ayun yung percentage na nakita natin, highest 50%. So, next slide please. This is the lowest positive rate doon sa first week ng February, 2.6%. At yung average nga natin for the entire year is 7.3%. Next slide. So, just for the recap, ito po yung sa strength natin, disaggregate natin by the category, yung strength, and then number of personnel tested per category, kung ilan na yung nagka-positive percentage by category, and positivity rates. Next slide. Now let's proceed to the vaccination process flow with PNP CODA. We have, nilaunch natin ngayon itong ating symbolic vaccination. And we would like to inform you na along the process, itong process ito was discussed already by the health service before. Pero ito kasi is tinatapatan natin ng PNP CODA as lahat po ng data natin doon were generated through CODA. At gusto rin natin na itong vaccination, hinanda natin na meron tayong dashboard na dudugsing din dito. So on some steps of the vaccination, ay meron tayong intervention sa CODA so that we can easily monitor and it could be a basis for the health service decision makers para po dun sa ating monitoring sa kanila. Next slide. So, dito po tayo sa multipurpose ngayon. It starts with the registration. Ito yung nasa labas na makikita natin. Before pumasok doon, may sanitation and triage. And then, upon entry sa registration, dyan sa may lobby, i-check ngayon yung papasok kung sila ba ay naandun sa listahan na nakaschedule ngayon. Next slide. At kung sila ay naandun, so we advise them dahil nga meron tayong PNP CODA, may QR code, pag in-encode doon, pasok na agad doon sa system ngayon na nag-register siya. Otherwise, kung wala siya dalang cellphone, masisearch naman agad dyan at pwede papasok na. And then, categorize sa PNP personnel or civilian. Pero sa ngayon, ito nga at para tayo sa mga health worker. Next slide. After that registration, they will be guided to the counseling, next step which is counseling. Ito rin po yung setup natin pag lumipat tayo doon sa health service office natin doon. Actually, doon tayo nagkaroon ng CIMEX, pero for convenience sa atin lahat, pati na rin sa inyo, at dahil nga meron tayong simple ceremony kanina, hinangad natin na dito yon para makita nyo at ma-appreciate nyo. So the counseling, meron doon mga visual presentation, next slide, na pinakikita, that will last, next slide. So that will last for around 10 minutes. So dito yung gusto natin na even though naandun sila para mag-vaccinate, pero more information are available at pwede rin may mga katanungan na pwedeng ma-address about that. So, next slide. After the additional that step, pupunta na tayo sa screening. Sa screening ngayon, merong kukunin yung vital signs. So the temperature, the heart rate, the BP, and some questions to be asked. Yung mga question na yun is related dun sa kung anong vaccine. Sa ngayon, Sinovac. So yung mga DOH protocol pwedeng itanong dun. So next slide. So on this particular step ngayon, ito yung second intervention ng CODA. So nag-register ka ngayon, pumasok ka na system. Dito naman, a-assess ngayon kung ikaw ba go or no go. So when we say no go, dalawang reason yan na for personal reason, ayaw mo talaga, hindi na natin pipilitin, so doon ka sa personal reason. Doon naman sa clinical reason, upon assessment of our medical officials doon, hindi ka pa pwede. At yun nga yung mga nangyari doon sa iba. So no go and then you will be ushered, escorted palabas. Pero nasa system ka na nag-register ka at nakalagay na rin doon yung status mo kung bakit ka no-go. So that will be used for our reference eventually. Ngayon, pag nag-go ka ngayon, punta ka ngayon sa next step. Next step ngayon is the actual vaccination. So, i-usher ka sa actual vaccination and then for whatever reason na pag naandun ka, kinabahan ka ulit o man nangyari, so pwedeng i-update ulit yung record mo, na no-go ka, labas ka ulit. Pero kung ikaw na mais tuloy-tuloy, you will be vaccinated. And then after that, next slide, another intervention ngayon ng CODA. So information like this one, kasi automatic, pag pinasok na ito, yung time and date, and then kung anong klaseng vaccine ang pinasok sa'yo, kung sino administer, pipiliin na lang din doon, pasok ka na talaga doon sa system na yon. Then you will be, this is the third intervention. May mga laptop tayo dyan na naka-online. And then after that, you will be ushered to the next step, which is the monitoring portion. So you will stay there for at least 30 minutes para tingnan kung meron kang mga adverse reaction doon sa lugar. Pwedeng may mga pinapanood ka rin doon para malibang ka naman. And then after monitoring ngayon, andun pa rin isang laptop. That is the fourth intervention ng ating CODA. Next slide. So, ayan, meron siyang post-assessment, post-monitoring assessment. And then, napakasimple na ito, ilalagay yung mga naobserbahan or none kung hindi. So basically, itong dashboard na ito, it will be available on your cellphone. Kasi after your vaccination, in your CODA, at meron kami lahat nun, every day, mandatory na dapat papasok ka dyan para i-accomplish mo yan kung may nararamdaman. Kung wala naman, napakasimple, none. You will be monitored until the next vaccination. And sa second vaccine mo o dose, 30 days after that, daily i-monitor ka. And you can monitor kung sino hindi nag-accomplish ito. Kasi napakaganda kasi ito eh. Kasi kung ma-monitor natin na may mga adverse reaction, immediately the health service can do the appropriate intervention without them telling us anymore. So ito, mapaprompt agad tayo niyan. So So basically, after this, they will be ushered out. Next slide, please. So this will complete the process na ginawa natin dito and patuloy na yan din yung ilalabas dun sa health service natin. Next slide. So after that, ito na ngayon yung ating dashboard. Actually, all the senior officers have this one. And right now, in my monitoring, ito, i-refresh ko ngayon, there are already 44 personnel of health service na naka-input na dito sa atin. Ito yung kanina yung 3 pero 44 na ngayon. So, the health service, the CPNP, and all other concerned officers have access to monitor lahat ng mga informasyon ito. This is a fluid. Ito, ginawa lang ito ng ITMS natin. Pero pwede may mga adjustment tayo. This will prompt us kung kailan ka dapat na pumunta ulit para mag-vaccinate. Ito ay dinugsog natin dun sa ating RT-PCR na koda because ito yung magiging record natin na magiging pagbabasihan natin saan ka man ma-assign kung meron mang mga eventualing mga side effects yan at susunod na mga na vaccination at susunod na testing that will aid and simplify the job of the health service. So, next slide. Well, ito yung sinasabi ko na ito kanina ito yung 3 pero right now it's 44 already. So, sir, I would like to acknowledge the effort of all concerned, the health service and the ITMS for coming up with this program. Even the survey ay pinagbasihan natin doon. Sa atin nga, online we can check the status of our personnel. At even, kagaya ngayon, 800 sinabi, we easily generated those lists. Ngayon, kung after this sabihin na madadagdagan ng personnel, meron silang allotted for us na 2,000. Napakadali for us to generate. But we will focus this on Metro Manila. For information of everybody, the PNP through the health service is proposing 8 vaccination sites in Metro Manila. So ito yung sa Camp Crame which will cater all the personnel assigned here in Camp Crame to include the national support units, except for ABSI group and SAF na pinopropose namin magkaroon ng vaccination site for Metro Manila-based personnel. And then, ang pang-apat doon sa NCRP headquarters to cater for the regional headquarters and RMFB personnel. And the 5 districts para sa kanilang mga units. All in all, we have accounted for 39,327 metro-based personnel. But kung tatanggalin natin itong senior citizen, by the way, sa ngayon, whole of the PNP, we have 460 senior citizens. And based on the initial survey, more than 10,000, around 10,500 with comorbidities. The rest, they are qualified for vaccination of Sinovac. And if ever we will be given that vaccine, readily we can generate the list to be provided to the vaccination sites, initially for Metro Manila, but we leave this up to the regional directors and the regional task force commanders of other regions out at Manila to also prepare the micro-planning for vaccination. Next slide. So I believe that that's all for discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. That ends the entire presentation. We shall now proceed to the questions and answers from our friends from the press corps. Let us start with Mr. Paul Montibon of SMNI. Sir.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon po, General Sinas, and of course, ang tanong po namin dito ay kay General Guillermo Eliazar. Pahabol lang po from desk. Sir, yung previous po natin, hi sir, yung previous po natin na press conference ay yung 700 po dati yung magpapabakuna, no? Tapos nadagdagan tayo ng, ngayon naging 800 tayo. Pinapahabol lang po, bakit daw po naging 800? Either nadagdagan ba ang kumpiyansa ng other personnel natin or what? Thank you, sir. First question.
Yes, thank you for that clarification. Actually, yun kasi dati noon, that was initially, Pfizer kasi yung inaalat sa atin noon. At sinabi nga, these are for personnel assigned with the general, with the hospital. And we have PNP General Hospital. So initially yung number na ibinigay ng ating health service during that time is they have accounted for around 700 plus. Pero eventually kasi naging parang 8, yun din yun actually. Nadagdagan lang ng konti kasi with the instruction of our Chief PNP, we included also itong mga nasa ating mga quarantine facilities. Walang pinagkaiba kasi yun. Kasi ang purpose is those who are directly involved or dealing with the COVID patients. So, kahit general hospital yan, most of the personnel naman nasa within Metro Manila lang ito na merong quarantine facilities. Kaya, they have accounted for 804. So, actually, yun din po yun. Halos pareho din lang yun. Kaya nga lang, di ba, pagpasok nung Sinovac, nawala na ang medical workers. So, initially, ang prepare namin noon is yung other qualified personnel. In fact, the Chief PNP, the command group, and directorial staff, kami talaga ang dapat uunahin. But just 3 days ago or 2 days ago, sinabi na bigyan natin ng option, the right ng option, ang mga health workers natin. Kaya ibinalik namin yung listahan na sila rin actually 700 or 800 sila din yun. But they have the option or choice kung gusto lang kukunin, hindi. And we are glad to inform you that so far, out of the 800 na identify natin na yun, wala man isa sa kanila na nag-back out. Kung meron man, ito, in so far as I know, kasi I was brief about that, kung meron man, sila yung hinogo sila for clinical reason, not for personal reason. So, na-clarify ba natin? So, sila rin yun. Sila yung dapat para sa Pfizer, pero ito ngayon. So, we are waiting. On day-to-day basis, we will be waiting. Pag sinabi nila na PNP, may available kami ditong 10,000, immediately we can generate. But, ang uunahin natin yon is dito sa Metro Manila. That is why, ang ating health service ngayon ay coordinating with the DOH para ma-certify nila that aside from Krame, we can have additional 8 vaccination sites, which I mentioned earlier.
Pero sir, well consulted naman yung 700 na supposed to be for Pfizer. Ngayon, Sinovac ang dumating sa kanila.
Yes, alam nila, they are being brief about that. And in fact, ito kaya nga meron tayong steps by steps. Una, pagpasok, registration, kung ikaw ba talaga kasama doon sa nilistahan natin. Pagpasok mo doon ngayon sa next step, which is about giving guidance or giving information, doon sa second step na yun, we will be given more information. And then sa screening or assessment, doon ngayon talagang matatanungin ka. At doon, pwede ka rin naman na umatras kung gusto mo. But even before that, pagpunta mo dito, alam mo na kung anong vaccine na available for every one of us. And these are medical workers na compared with other personnel in the force, mas alam nila kung ano nangyayari. Thank you.
Sige sir. Last na lang po sir. Na-mention niyo naman po yung sa regional concern. Pero may figure ba tayo sir kung ilan ang personnel na ipapakalat natin all over the Philippines doon sa mga vaccination sites natin?
Ano to? Yung bubakunahan o yung i-deploy?
Yung sa i-deploy, sir.
Sir, can I ask the DO or TDCO, sir?
Yes, tama yun. Pwedeng paki-ano lang, sir, with your permission. May few slides lang ako para makita mo rin yung reported deployment plan ng ating mga regional offices in relation to the enforcement of quarantine protocols and minimum health standards and in preparation for the implementation of the national vaccination program. Sige, next. Okay, stop. We continue to deploy our forces down to each region, provinces, and cities, including the QCPs, DCPs, as shown. Next slide. Ito naman, yung deployment din, airports, seaports, CBRNs, and issues. Plus, hindi lang nailagay dyan, no? Yung mga identified vaccination areas. No? We have given instructions to our regional directors, first to identify all those vaccination centers of the different LGUs. Yun yung minamap out namin ngayon as, of course, as approved by the DOH and the IATF. Next slide, please. In our last meeting with the Armed Forces and BFP and PCG, ito yung kanilang commitment as far as the deployment of their personnel to augment our PNP personnel. Next slide, please. Sige, next. So while, yes, we are focusing now or shifting now our focus to the implementation of the vaccination program, but we continue to enforce the quarantine protocols and minimum health standards with the following collated data on violators. Next. By island groups, on hoarding and PUBs apprehended. Next. Violations on minimum health standard. Next. Okay. Next slide. So just to inform you, no, na tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung ating enforcement ng iba't ibang protocol natin related to health. Next. Next. Sir, I'll take advantage of this. Next slide. Of course, we have this data on direct assault, indirect assault, and resistance, disobedience to person authority. Last time, pinakita ko rin to, but hindi masyadong gumalaw yung data. Kaya, anyway, ito pa rin yung update natin. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. I-highlight ko lang to with the permission of the Chief. The recently issued Resolution 101 by IATF. This is to remind all our police officers manning the different checkpoints that based on this resolution, and the following are the salient points. Of course, we will continue to adhere to the minimum health or public health standards as shown. I will not be discussing that. Next slide. Okay. So, testing shall not be mandatory for traveler except if the LGU of destination will require testing as a requirement prior to travel, and such shall be limited to RT-PCR only. Please take note, I know all our police units are monitoring this press con. Be guided by this recent IATF resolution. No traveler shall be required to undergo quarantine unless they exhibit symptoms upon arrival at the LGU of destination. Next slide. Travel authority issued by JTF COVID Shield and health certificates shall no longer be required. No? So I hope this should be made very clear to our police officers manning the different checkpoint. Next, authorized persons or APORs from the national government agencies and their attached agencies must provide their identification card, travel order, and travel itinerary, and must pass symptom screening of ports of entry and exit pursuant to IATF resolution. Next. So meron pa silang ibang provision doon, but highlight ko lang those items which are directly related to the function or mandate of the JTF CV Shield. No? Okay, then ito yung related sa tanong mo kanina. We continue to, next slide, implement our PNP security plan caduceus. This is already activated. Last time, pinakita rin natin to. Of course, in support of the national vaccination plan. No? We have 3 STGs, vaccine cold chain, logistics, under the Director for Logistics. Of course, the PRM for the immunization program, and the demand generation for the PCR. And we have replicated this down to the regional level. Next. Ito yung kahapon. No? May nagtanong din kanina. From February 28 mula hapon hanggang madaling araw kanina, ito of course with the NCR JTF commander, nandito silang mostly nag-implement nito. There was no reported untoward incident in the entire process of delivery of vaccines to the different 7 hospitals within Metro Manila. So yun ang, unless meron kayong tanong, we continue to implement these different protocols while we perform our regular police function. Thank you.
All right. Next to ask questions is J. Mark Dagala of the DWIZ, sir.
Gandang hapon po. To General Binag, sir. Since nagluwag nga po ng travel restrictions ang IATF, and as we already said na ang PNPA implementing implementing agency nitong mga resolutions na ito, gaano po yung hamon na hinaharap po ng ating mga police officers na nasa checkpoint ngayong pinaluwag na itong travel restrictions, sir, lalo na sa mga tourist destinations po?
Tignan natin yung provision kanina ng pagtanggal ng travel authority. Dapat ibangga din natin doon yung isang provision na nakalagay din doon that LGU, no? They may still require yung RT-PCR test only depending on their situation. So, doon na tayo nakafocus ngayon kung ano lang yung nire-require ng IATF. As far as the different documents that our people manning the checkpoints are concerned, ito yung titignan nila, of course, in relation to the reasonable regulation issued by their respective LGUs. Meantime, katulad nung binanggit na natin ng mga nakaraan, simula nung nagbukas ang ating ekonomiya, siyempre nag-refocus ang ating mga pulis, no, sa pagbabantay ng mga areas of convergence para maprotektahan ang ating mga kababayan laban sa mga gawain ng mga kriminal. Andiyan rin yung binabantayan nila na para laban naman sa terorismo at iba pang banta sa katahimikan. So lahat na yun ngayon, tinitingnan ng ating kapulisan. Thank you.
Opo. Kaya ko lang po, sir, na itanong kasi dahil upon dun sa pang-araw-araw na observation ay mas nagkakaroon ho kasi ng maling conception yung public na dahil nagkaroon ho ng ganitong pagduluwag sa travel restrictions, eh parang ang iniisip po kasi ng iba natin mga kababayan ay parang papunta na tayo dun sa bagamat GCQ ang Metro Manila, pero ang iniisip po kasi ng karamihan na parang lumuluwag na talaga, bumabalik na dun sa pre-pandemic normal. Just paalala lang po doon sa ating mga kababayan, sir, na baka ho nagkakaroon lang ng misconception doon sa mga pinatutupad ho na pagluluwag base po doon sa resolution ng IATF.
Okay. Salamat. No, patuloy nating pinaalalahanan ng ating mga kababayan na sundin pa rin natin ang ating minimum health protocol, yung ating quarantine protocol, at patuloy pa rin tayo mag-ingat kahit na binuksan na ang ating ekonomiya at dinagdagan pang iba't ibang social activities natin. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next is Dolan Castro, ABS-CBN, sir.
Yes, sir. Naganap na nga po kanina yung yung ating symbolic vaccination. Sir, papaalam sana tayo kung pwede marinig kaya naman natin, sir, sa mga nabakunahan, kahit yung first 3 lang po or sino man pong available, ang pwedeng magbigay ng yung ano lang po nararamdaman nila ngayon. Ano ba yung kanilang may na-feel ba silang bago sa katawan nila, baka na binabanggit ni doktora or at ano po yung kumpiyansa nila? Marinig lang po sana natin dun sa mga nabakunahan kanina, kung sino po pwede magsalita.
Director Health Service, is he here now? Yung epekto daw po, sir, sa kanilang katawan ngayon. Yes, sir, yung mga napabakunahan.
Kahit sino, sir, kahit sino lang po sa mga nabakunahan, baka meron po tayong pwede magsalita.
Mamaya, kung gusto nyo, we'll have the Director of Health Service. You could... Kuan, halika. Ano to? Ano bang pakiramdam mo? Nangisay ka ba? Please come. Dito sa harap. Dito sa harap. Pakita mo yung tigas mo. Diba? Sige, you could ask questions sa kanya.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, kamusta ka na po, sir?
Yung mga nagtatanong kung kumusta po yung pagpapabakuna namin kanina, gaya po ng nasabi ko na rin kanina na yung pong naramdaman ko nung mga na-injectionan po, gaya rin po ng pakiramdam ng pangkaraniwang bakuna po natin. At so far, nabakunahan ako ng 10:33 or 9:33 yata yung kanina. Then until now, wala pa naman ako nararamdaman. And even yung aking braso hindi naman nagnanam. And we still have 24 hours to monitor kung meron pa mga ibang reactions like yung sinasabing lalagnatin. So far, yun lang po, sir.
Ronald, we may ask.
Yes. Sir, hindi ka ba natakot, sir, nung sinabi ni doktora na lalagnatin, tapos bang medyo mapaparaning ng konti, baka, sir, ang gusto mong ipayo sa mga, yung nagdadalawang isip pa na magpabakuna ng Sinovac?
Yung pong takot, wala po tayong takot sa katawan. Gaya po ng binanggit ni Chief PNP kanina, bago tayo umupo rito. Hindi po takot ang naramdaman natin kung hindi yung pakiramdam po na kasama ko doon sa unang-unang mababakunahan, lalong-lalo na po ngayon na meron tayong pandemic. Para sa akin po, isang malaking bagay po ito na pababilang doon sa unang mababakunahan dahil magkakaroon po ako ng protection sa aking katawan laban po dito sa COVID pandemic. Meron pa po? Diba?
General, hindi ka po ba nag-alangan na Sinovac po ang bakunang ituturok sa inyo ngayon?
Wala po. Actually, kung akong personal na tatanungin, pangatlo yung Sinovac doon sa aking mga choices. Meron po akong mga unang dalawa, pero lahat po kasi ng mga bakuna na yan may epekto po sa ating katawan. Ito yung mga magbibigay sa atin ng panlaban. Lalong-lalo na po dito sa sakit na COVID na kinakaharap natin sa ngayon. At sabi ko nga, isang malaking karangalan na mapabilang doon sa mga unang nabakunahan po.
Sir, sorry to ask, no? Sabi nyo, pangatlo yung Sinovac. Ano ba yung unang gusto nyo? At hindi po ba kayo napilitan lang, sir? Sorry po sa tanong.
Hindi ko na po babanggitin dahil unang-una, kagaya rin po ninyo, na meron na po kayong mga napipisil na mga brand ng vaccine na base doon sa ating mga nababasa at sabihin natin pinag-aaralan. Ganon din po yun. Kagaya niyan, ayoko na magbanggit ng pangalan dahil unang-una, ito po yung unang dumating na bakuna na ito po'y kasama doon sa programa ng ating pamahalaan. At naniniwala po tayo na lahat po ng mga vaccine na yan, gaya na nabanggit ng ating kasama kanina na representante ng DOH, na pumasa po lahat yan sa EUA ng ating FDA. Yun lang po.
Sir, last. Ulitin ko, sir, hindi po ba kayo na-pressure, sir? Dahil kayo po yung director ng health service na magpabakuna po ng Sinovac. Thank you.
Hindi po pressure. Sabi ko nga po, karangalan, unang-una, dahil ako po tumatayong pinakapinuno ng ating health service at nabigyan ng pagkakataon ng DOH ng ang unang matuturukan, mabibigyan ng bakunang ito yung pong ating mga health workers. At ang mga kasama natin na yan, na sila po yung mga nasa frontline, pangit naman po na ako po namumuno ay hindi po mapabilang sa kanila na magpatulok po nitong bakuna. Meron pa po. Thank you po.
Basta tatandaan niyo po pangalan, General Chito Magnayo, the first ever na tinurukan ng vaccine sa Philippine National Police. Next is Raymond Dadpaas from DZRH.
Sir, either kay Chief, General Sinas, sir, or kay Major General Vicente Danal, sir, ng NCRPO. Doon sa issue ng Commonwealth incident, we know na NBI na ho ang inatasan na mag-imbestiga. Now, dito sa inyong case na kinakaharap, how confident is the PNP na yung magiging resulta would favor the Philippine National Police, sir?
I will answer it. We will wait for the investigations. It's not anymore how confident na kami ganito. We'll just wait for the investigations kasi nga ayaw namin i-preempt kung ano po ang resulta. Hintayin na lang po natin. Kung ano mang sabihin namin, baka ma-preempt and it's immaterial. Pagbigyan lang po natin yung NBI na mag-imbestiga. We are very confident the NBI is capable and has the ability to find out the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next is Mr. Alfred Dallison from People's Journal.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, may order po si President na sa PNP to go after groups, persons, and even politicians reportedly enticing the youth to join schools recruiting members of the New People's Army, like dun sa Salugpungan, sir. Ano, sir, ang instruction niyo po sa ating field commanders, and may namomonitor ba kayo na similar recruitment dito po sa Metro Manila, sir?
The instruction of the President, nag-issue to siya when we were in Tandag, Surigao, after the disaster doon, in relations yung na-recovered na rescue ng mga IP children doon sa Cebu City. The instruction of the President is that we should rescue kids that being forcefully or deceived by the CCPNPA to go to some school without the approval or clearance. At this does not need any more warrant or search warrant, but to recover the children and return them to their parents. That's the instruction of the President. And that's what we're doing. We're monitoring. So kaya kung meron mga ganon, talagang nakipag-ugnayan kami sa DSWD, napag-ugnayan kami sa mga parents para kung merong report na yung mga anak nila ay dinadala doon sa mga so-called suspected to be recruitment areas ng CCPNPA ay dapat kunin at ibalik sa mga parents. I have given instructions to all our regional directors and intel community to monitor. At kung meron man, at makipag-unayan po para po ma-recover at mabalik po ang mga kabataan doon sa mga magulang nila. Particularly na yung mga underage po. Yun po yung instruction ni Presidente na ipapatupad po namin. Thank you, Fred.
Sir, kay General Danao, sir, may na-monitor na ba ang NCRPO na similar activities, ongoing activities dito sa Metro Manila, sir?
That is one of the areas of concern now na tinitignan natin ngayon. But since wala naman tayong face-to-face schooling sa ngayon, so far negative naman. Pero we cannot discount the possibility that there are underground movement para i-entice itong ating mga students. Kaya nga po, kung nakikita ninyo, we've been roaming around the different areas, different barangays in our the whole NCR para i-promote yung ating LCAC. So, yun po yung ating ginagawa sa ngayon.
Sir, last question na lang, sir. Sa PNPA Director, sir. Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Sir, in-announce mo yung forthcoming PNPA test. Ano na po ang nangyari sa PNPA right now? after it was hit by a series of controversies last year, like yung presence nung cadets na nag-positive sa drugs, yung nahuling umiinom, yung may mauling incidents, and other reported irregularities which I believe were ordered investigated by the chief himself.
Yes, thank you very much. Alam nyo, yung mga challenges na dumating sa PNPA, we take this as from negative to positive. Unang-una, upon yung mga incident na dumating sa amin, we immediately take action on that. Number one, yung cadet na nag-positive, he is already dismissed after undergoing summer hearing proceedings. Yun namang sa mauling incident, meron na ring result. We already submitted a report. The one involved in the mauling was likewise dismissed from the cadetship training, while the two other was suspended for 1 year. And because of that, a series of reforms were undertaken through the guidance of our CPNP. The CPNP visited us so that we were able to present some of our concerns, such as lack of personnel, financial reforms, and all others. Right now, we can safe to say na yung PNPA ay nakabagong muli because of that isolated cases. We are now ready to accept the new batch of examinees. For your information, we have around 26,000 online applicants. This is a breakthrough in compared with the previous examination last year. Last year, we recorded 22,000 applicants. But for this year, an increase of more than 4,000 applicants. So this means napakarami pa ring mga kabataan, mga kababayan natin na interesado na maging kadete at maging community leaders.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sirs. Sir, hihingi lang po ako ng update kay RDNCRPO, kaya kay DDMPD, doon sa mga pulis na dinukot sa Maynila. Isinalang na ba natin, sir, meron ba tayong background, sir, nitong mga pulis na ito? At saka, isinalang ba natin sila sa lifestyle check?
Yes, good morning to everybody. Good morning to our Chief PNP. For the abduction of the 2 policemen, for Corporal Alan Hilario, we have formed a Special Investigation Task Group Hilario. It is being headed by the Deputy Director for Operation of the MPD. On board are the PNP Crime Lab, PNP CIDG, and other intelligence unit. And for the update, we are receiving so many information regarding the background of Police Corporal Alan Hilario, and it is now being validated. Once validated, we will give you that update. For the abduction of Patrolman Real Lopez Tesoro, continuous coordination with the family is being undertaken by the Station 8 personnel, specifically led by the station commander. And until now, there is no call or any communication by the abductors and towards the family. And we are looking into the possibility that these 2 abductions are interrelated. Until now, no update for Patrolman Real Lopez Tesoro's abduction. Thank you.
Sir, follow-up lang po. Sir, so far, meron na ba tayong motibo na tinitingnan doon po sa pagdukot doon sa 2 pulis?
Many information is being received by our office, and this information might be the motive. However, it is not yet validated. So, upon validation, we will give you that update.
Sir, kasama ba dyan yung mga nababasa ko rin sa ibang news na involved sila sa hulid up sa mga pogo?
Those open sources information are also validated until this time.
Pero sir, kasama ba sa investigation nyo yung lifestyle check ng dalawa? Ano ang background?
Yes, we are investigating their after duty activity, including their lifestyle, and proper report will be forwarded to our regional director.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks po, ma'am. Next is Pat Mangune, TV5, ma'am.
General Sinas, sir, balikan ko lang, sir, yung Commonwealth case. Paano na ngayon, sir, ang mangyayaring turnover to the NBI?
As what we have reported, all evidences has been turned over. Yung sasakyan, turn over na po. Yung mga evidences na nasa crime lab ay turn over na rin. Yung nasa mga cellphone sa anti-cybercrime group natin ay turn over na rin. Yung personnel po ng PNP was already returned under the custody of the District Director of QCPD. Yung personnel din ng PDEA ay binigay na rin namin doon sa PDEA na once tawagin ng NBI, they will report and we will already have pledged our full cooperations with the investigation of the NBI. So hinihintay na lang po namin kung ano yung mangyari. For the meantime, yung mga personnel namin will be doing administrative duties, nagre-report na lang sila sa opisina, pending the result of the NBI investigations po.
Sir, follow-up lang. Ano, sir, yung mga evidence in general terms? Meron ba tayong autopsy? Ano pa bang evidence na i-turn over na natin?
Okay. Hindi lang ang mga evidence na kyan, yung baril, yung slugs, yung cellphones, no? All others more, including yung autopsy report, nandoon binigay na po sa kanila. As to the impact of those evidence, pabayaan na po namin ang NBI ang magsalita, ma'am.
Okay. Sir, subukan ko lang din, sir, one last. Meron po ba talagang pera na i-turn over din po ba yun sa NBI?
I will let the Director Crime Lab says kasi I'm not privy with the evidences recovered. Steve?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Magandang tanghali po, sir. So far as crime lab evidences that were processed, meron po kasabang modal money recovered from the van occupied by the PDEA. Modal money po ito, and this was already turned over to the IOC, and we have also processed several evidences, including, nabanggit po ni Sir, yung autopsy, drug test, DNA, paraffin, including the analysis of the bullet trajectories, macro-reaching ballistics, and fingerprint. That is all that we have now, and lahat po ito is na-turn over na po yung iba, and the rest, we are waiting for the complete turnover of all these evidences to the NBI.
Okay. Sir, follow-up, magkano po yung pera? Totoo po ba yung 1 million mahigit?
There was an issue about that amount, but in the actual processing of the SOCO, wala namang lumabas na 1 million doon. What was found out there is budol money, yung ilang bundles of pera purporting to be thousands, pero hindi naman actual na pera. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, Ms. Eunice Celerio from Filipino Mirror. The last questions from her.
Sir, good afternoon. May accusation po sa PNP ang mga backwit teacher sa Region 7. At dito po sa Facebook page ng Save Our School Network, mayroon daw pong nawawalang teacher na ang pangalan ay Rochelle Porcadilla. At ang sabi po dito sa Facebook page nila, nakakulong daw po ito sa Cebu City Detention Center, pero iniutos daw po na dalhin sa regional office. But then nawala po yung teacher. Reaction po yung General Sinas po.
Nawala si Teacher Rochelle?
Opo, nawala daw.
Sino nagsabi na wala siya?
Dito po sa Facebook page nila na Save Our School Networks, 18 hours pa lang po ang nakakalipas.
Hindi namin alam kung nakuan kasi si Teacher Rochelle was isa po sa nahuli during that time. I will ask RD NCRP, RD Pro 7 on that. Kasi based on our original report, kasama po siya sa nahuli doon, no? So, titingnan ko lang muna.
Opo sir, kasi actually po, kayo po ang binabanggit dito na nag-utos daw po dun sa colonel na kumuha sa kanya para dalhin sa Regional Police 7. Iyon po nakalagay po sa Facebook page nila.
Hindi natin alam kung may follow-up investigation sila. Tanungin nyo na lang yung nag-post kung saan galing yung report nila.
Okay, sir.
Okay? Kasi alam ko, nandoon lang yan siya. At may progress kasi. May progress sa investigations which I'm not privy and I'm not yet releasing it for follow-up investigations. Okay po. Yes, ma'am.
We can still accommodate a few more questions from Ms. Ann Soberano, Bombo Radio. Ma'am.
Sir, General Sinas, sir, pwede si General Sinas or si General Danao. Sir, anong napag-usapan, anong sinabi ni Pangulong Duterte, sir, sa PNP and PDEA? Doon nag-meeting kayo regarding doon sa encounter sa Commonwealth. Ano po yung sinabi sa inyo ni Pangulong Duterte, sir?
Confidential.
Okay, sir, sige. Sir, talaga bang nangyayari?
Sige na,
yes, sir.
Hindi ko mabiro eh.
Di tumawa naman ako, sir. Sige.
No, the President wants ang case should be transferred to NBI for a third party and he wants to solve the case kung ano talagang story. So which both of us, PDEA and me, already committed na sir, we are on what really happens. Okay, and we're also happy that the NBI already conducted investigation para matanggal na rin sa amin yun at hindi naman sabihin na merong cover-up, merong biases, etc. etc. Pangalawa, ayaw din ni Presidente na maapektuhan yung current anti-drug operations namin because of that unfortunate event. He wants na kung ano man yun, ayusin nyo na at sana hindi maapektuhan yung other impending operations which we already committed na sir, hindi po talaga. Yung ibang mga districts natin, yung ibang mga regional police offices natin ay hindi naman po naapektuhan doon. Kaya nga immediately after the incident, we inform our regional directors on my part, pati na rin PDEA, they inform the regional directors to coordinate and discuss matters pertaining to coordination para po maiwasan yung incidente na yun. So far ngayon, we have already continued our operations at wala naman pong naapektuhan. Ang iniwasan lang namin na sana walang mangyaring similar situation sa ibang regions po natin. Yun po, ma'am.
Pero sir, may nangyari na ba previously na nagka-enkwentro ang PDEA and PNP sa anti-drug operation na hindi naman nagresulta ng bakbakan, sir? Nagkaroon na ba ng similar incident?
I will let RD and CRPO answer that. Vic?
Yes, sir. In my experience here so far, I think there's one in PRO 4A wherein similar situation pero unfortunately, fortunately, wala naman pong talagang nangyaring barilan. Nagkaamuyan naman kaagad. And I think last year din dito sa NCRPO, I think in NPD also. So the same, nagkaamuyan din kaagad. So it's a good thing na wala pong nangyaring ganong kalaking incident unlike itong sa Commonwealth.
So ano po sir ang possible na bakit hindi nagkaamuyan kaagad sir yung PNP and PDEA dito sa Commonwealth operation?
Yun po ang ating iimbestigahan ng gusto.
Okay, sige sir. Isa pa po sir, follow up. Sir, doon naman sir sa sa rollout ng vaccine, yung 800 General Eleazar. Sir, itong 800 na doses sir ay ipapamahagi ba din natin sa mga regional health services natin nationwide?
Dito muna sa Metro Manila.
Okay.
All of them are here.
Thank you sir.
Thank you.
So that ends the press conference. We have had enough for today. Today is March 1 actually, so let us fruitful week ahead. Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. God bless all of you.
Thank you very much at mabuhay tayong lahat.